Hello, and welcome to the Creative Venture podcast. In this episode, I'm sitting down with Amy Rose Mitchell, a theatre designer working on set, costume design, and technical theatre. Amy started her career with an interest in art and drama, and through passion and initiative has worked on shows like Warhorse, The Lion King, and other Western productions. In this episode, we dissect the strategies, skills, and attitudes that Amy has used to achieve success. However, success might be the wrong word, as Amy's true focus is on the journey and not the destination.
I wouldn't say ultimately there is a success because that hints at a completion. And I don't think that's something you should be looking for or aiming for or owning, because then it feels like you've completed something, and I don't think that's what you should be doing. You should just be on a constant journey. There is no ultimate level.
I'm your host, Mark Levine, and welcome to the Creative Venture podcast. Amy Rose Mitchell.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm feeling good.
Well, it's so good to see you again. Great to have you on the show. So I think we'll dive straight in, and I'm interested to ask you about some of the projects you've worked on, because, you know, you've worked on West End shows like The Lion King and Warhorse. I've also heard that you worked on Wicked, which I heard on the Disney podcast is one of your like childhood favourites, which is pretty cool. And I understand you got started with these shows pretty early on in your career. So I'm interested to know, firstly, how important has your network been? And have you got any advice for people on building one?
In terms of working in places like that, my network of just who I know has been so important. So important. And I've always been building on that ever since I was really young. And I was just lucky I got given a chance on my first West End show, which was Warhorse. And I was able to, from there, just meet people, talk to people in every different department. And I think theatre is so inclusive of everybody. No matter what department you're in, it's all hands on deck. It's not separate. It's kind of everyone hangs out in the green room. And it's so social as well. Like, it might seem big and scary. I mean, it did to me. Like, it seemed massive. Like, I was crapping myself the first time I rocked up to my first day. Like, I think everyone has a mutual understanding that when you're in a creative career or you're in the arts industry, that it will be a struggle. And it is something that everybody kind of accepts from each other, that you must love what you do. Like, everyone has that mutual understanding that you love your job, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. You love what you do.
When you say struggle, like, what sort of things do you mean? Is this like just getting work, or it starts to get a bit laborious and just hard, or what do you mean by struggle there?
Getting work, hard work, like finding decent money from it, like having to just, you know, completely throw yourself 100% into your passion and just trust and just take a leap constantly every day. Like, not everything is guaranteed. Like, your show can be running fine one day and then all of a sudden it's closed, like with COVID. Like, it's never rock solid, ever. Like, art is constantly changing.
And the thing that helps you get through all these struggles, what is that? Is that passion, or what is that for you?
It's my passion, it's my drive, it's my motivation. It's just, it's my true love. It sounds really, really cheesy, but it is. And it just, if I don't love what I'm doing, then I have to step away from it, because I just can't commit to it. Because it's fulfilling. It's, you know, it's something that I will happily like spend 16-hour days, 18-hour days, you know, those grueling, horrible times. Well, not horrible at all. Like, I'd do anything right now to be back doing that. But you need to have some sort of passion, because otherwise you're not going to get through, you know, the 7-day weeks. Like, it's constant. It's absolutely constant.
So if you were to take me back to when you were first getting started and the passion is fiery hot and you're right at the earliest stage of your career, you've seen all these West End shows, been really inspired. How do you take that just enthusiasm and actually like start meeting people, getting into the industry and doing the work you want to do?
I suppose in the first place, it was going to see theatre. And then going and just like doing little things, like as a kid with my nan, and just like waiting outside the stage door and just kind of speaking to people, like reading the programme, like, oh, what did these people do? Or like, who's that? And like speaking to them and just asking them questions and just kind of like absorbing a bit of their passion as well, because they clearly love what they do, otherwise they wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And then in school, I was just so lucky, like with my teachers. I grew up in Croydon in South London, so it wasn't, I mean, it wasn't the best of places to be, but in terms of my life, I think I was blessed to have come from there, because I wouldn't have been surrounded by so much culture and so much richness and so much just, I don't know, I feel like everything was so much more open. Like teachers were so much more encouraging when you wanted to do things. I was so into my subjects like design technology and being in product design, woodwork and drama and all those kind of things. And I'd also be very like go-getting with things. Like I didn't want to spend much time at home. There was nothing really to do where I lived. Most people would just be, hanging around on street corners in the town centre, trying to, inhale each other's asthma pumps or something stupid. And I was just like, no, that's not for me. It's really not for me. I'm sorry, guys. Like, I think our idea of fun was just going and playing hide and seek in IKEA. Like that was literally the epitome of excitement in Croydon. It's going to the Pearly Way IKEA. And so I found a charity called Mousetrap Theatre Projects, who are absolutely incredible. And I started getting involved with them and I became a representative for them. And then I kind of worked my way up with them and started doing all sorts of things that meant I could go and see shows for a subsidised price, like £5-10 going into the West End was insane.
Yeah.
Like there's no way my parents could have afforded like the actual cost. So I'd just take myself into town a couple of nights a week and just watch everything and just take it all in. My brain would be always so switched on about it. And I
interested in how it works, or you hadn't thought that much about it at that stage?
Interested in how it worked, interested in who did it. And I went through a while of, well, I still would love to be a performer. And that's where my passion started.
Interesting. That's so cool.
Was wanting to perform and then realising how performative the world around the actor can be in itself, and thinking about the challenge of creating that and enabling that performance. Yeah, so I got involved in Mousetrap. I started doing more things, like going to see more shows and then doing like question and answer sessions with the cast and company. And then I joined the youth forum and I just developed and started organising events. I would never say no. I'd just constantly always try it, do it, see what I felt for it, if I liked it, anything to do with theatre. Just, I didn't put the book down. I just kept reading. And then in like my school holidays and stuff, I think instead of sitting around again doing nothing, I'd just find extra work experience and kind of things I could do. Or I'd be at my grandparents' house working on projects with my granddad. I was very lucky that he taught me how to do carpentry and stuff in general. And I'd go home. I'd made my little desk space for myself and I'd just kind of brainstorm ideas of what I wanted to like make and build. And then I'd go to my granddad and I'd have like this plan. I'd be like, right, granddad, this is what we're going to do. And he'd be like, right, okay. And then he'd like kind of plan how to make it with me. And then we'd go to B&Q and we'd like stock up and then build all these random things that I'd then just have around my childhood bedroom of just like,
What a legend.
It just so happened that everything I was interested in, everything I enjoyed doing was all related.
Yeah, there was this fusion of different things.
Yeah, it just took me like, okay, I really enjoy making things. Great. I really enjoy being in a theatre. Great. And it took me a while to kind of piece together where that could lead me. And I think I had one of my teachers in high school, Mr. Archard was his name. He sat me down one day and was like, have you ever thought about being a set designer? Or a theatre designer? Because I was in such a turmoil at like GCSE. I was like, I love making things. I love performing. I don't know what to do. I don't want to like go separate ways. And he was just like, have you thought about being a set designer or a theatre designer? And I was like, oh, no, I haven't actually.
What's that?
Yeah. And he got me a placement with the Children's Theatre Company when I was about 15. And then I ended up working for them for a while. That fear you have of approaching someone or approaching a venue, you need to embrace that because you're scared because you love it. If you didn't care about it, you wouldn't feel worried that, oh my God, how am I going to speak to this person? It's just adrenaline. That's what it is. It's just there's a constant adrenaline because it's completely unpredictable. which is why it's a huge risk all the time. But that's good, because then you start doing that with other things in your life. And I was just very lucky that my parents just were like, yeah, go on, trust you, do whatever you want.
So I'm starting to understand that you've had, all this support from people like your teachers and your granddad and your interest in DT, and then all these things start to come together. But in terms of confidence, where do you think that comes from? Because you obviously were passionate from a young age and able to engage with all these people and really get stuck in with the job. But where do you think that level of confidence comes from?
I think my entire life I've been very independent, very, very independent, not close with my parents. I had a younger sister who was 8 years younger, so I'd look after her a lot, and had a lot of kind of just general life traumas and things that made me grow up fast, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And instead of letting that pull me down, I just ran with it and used it completely and didn't let it take anything away from me. All the way through primary school, I'd always be like the lead role in school play and stuff, but I never really thought anything of it. And then I started doing drama, obviously, in high school as part of the curriculum. But it was just allowing me to, I don't know, come out of my shell. And even if I was scared or didn't quite know where I was going with something, or it was like the first time I was doing something, the first time I was going to work in a theatre or whatever, it was just kind of performing your way through it. I know it sounds a bit crazy, but
but that totally makes sense.
You just convince yourself with it, and then you become, fake it till you make it. No, I'm joking. But.
And thinking about learning as well, and someone that might want to follow in the similar sort of career path to yourself, how did you learn all the skills to get you to where you are today?
I think I was very lucky that a lot of the things that I need to be able to do were always a hobby of mine, like drawing or painting or, like making things with my granddad. And but I think in school, I just really focused in on those skills. And I think just having good, positive relationships with your teachers, very important.
So you've always been a keen student, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Such a nerd. Still am.
That's great. That's great. Best way to be.
Such a nerd. But again, like just talking and just, like I'd stay behind after class and say, well, what did you do? Why are you here? Why are you a DT teacher? What was your path? Who do you know?
Yeah.
How have you got here? What did you do at uni? Has it helped you? Those kind of things. And making it known when you're interested in something. I think for a while in school, there was always that thing of being bullied or being, the kid who was like a nerd or whatever, or the kid who was like always in the library or always in the drama studio or whatever. But then it's just very important to not be shy or ashamed of those things that you want to do that aren't cool typically, or, because it propelled me in some way. It was my happy place. Like I felt like I was going somewhere. And I just managed to assemble all of these skills. And I mean, even now, it's just like, I still don't have all the skills to do my job. I don't. It's every single job is different. Everything I design, because it's art, because it's creativity, there's no correct answer to it.
Yeah.
Who knows what my idea is going to be? I'm completely unpredictable. I don't know what set I'm going to design. Like anything could just come out of my brain, and then I'm like, crap, now I have to make that.
I think the amazing thing, though, in what I'm hearing from your story is that you are a creative human. You've always been a creative human from a young age. And whether it's drawing or building things or whatever, like your brain loves problem solving and figuring stuff out. And like, it just sounds like literally that's your job. So it's not a case of like, oh, what am I going to do today? Do I have the skills? It's like, if you don't have the skills, I'm sure you'll figure it out.
Go and get them. Exactly. That's the thing. That's why I kind of, when I'm working with people and I show them my ideas and they're like, oh, but have you ever done that before? Or how are you going to do that? I'm like, no, and I don't know. I'll find out. That's part of like, that's why I've accepted this challenge, is because it is a challenge. It's not just I'm going to repeat the same thing every day in my job. Even not designing and working backstage, every single show is different. It's live. Anything can go wrong at any moment. So there's so many levels to all sorts of things. And sometimes
did you ever find that was intimidating, like the pressure of that? Or
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I remember literally when I started on Warhorse for the first time. So backstage, there's you either call it like a track or a plot, and it's basically throughout the show. Obviously, like there's a whole backstage choreography going on of like dressers and stage managers, and everyone kind of has a track or a plot that is molded around each other's, so everything happens as and when it needs to.
Right.
But there are like, I don't know, 50 to 100 people doing it all to make sure the show is happening.
Yeah.
It depends on the size of the show, obviously. And I remember learning my first ever track. I was so terrified with Warhorse. And some shows involve like on stage cues. So it's like, if you get it wrong, you will be seen.
Oh, no.
So it's like,
like
that kind of stuff. And like just knowing that you're responsible for those things, and like things can injure people. People can get really badly hurt.
Oh my God. Okay.
It's not easy. You have to be switched on all the time because you can't predict other people's movements, other people's mistakes that might be happening. You just got to be prepared. But I was so terrified the first time. So I was having anxiety dreams like for a week, like trying to remember my cues and making sure I was doing everything at the right point. Yeah, literally it was intense, but then you end up relaxing into it. But then again, you kind of have this acceptance of, oh, okay, not everything's going to be the same. And like when I left Warhorse and I moved on to, I went to Lion King next, actually. I started there.
Amazing, yeah.
And I was like, it's going to be like, I'm well good at my job now. It's going to be like so good. I'm going to be amazing. I'm just going to rock up and like know everything. And then I got there and obviously it was a different show, different company. Everything was completely different. And then I was back in that like position of, oh my God, like deer in headlights.
This
like,
is one of the things, like, as
so
a creative, like every project, you've got to get comfortable with the fact that you don't know.
Exactly.
And I think for me, in my experience, I see my comfort zone as almost like a circle around me. If I stay put within my comfort zone, it sort of contracts around me. If I step outside of it, it grows and I achieve new things, I do better work. So, thinking about comfort zone, like, firstly, how did you get the courage to come out of it? Because it's not necessarily confidence you need, it's courage in the beginning because you're walking into an unknown situation. So yeah, like where did you get the minerals to do that?
I think I just realised, but like I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie and like taking those risks. I realised there's been times where I haven't taken risks or I decided, oh, okay, I'm good at that specifically, so I'll just do that and like deliver. And it was like, okay, that's great, but I feel no fulfillment. I feel completely the same, if not worse.
Is this taking a safe option, you mean?
Yeah, taking a safe option, taking the kind of, right, I've designed this show in this way, and now I'm going to pick another script to work on that is completely the same era, completely the same. It's almost like specialising in stuff. I've always wondered whether I would specialise in a certain style or something, but I never seem to have because I just enjoy
the challenge
of doing everything differently each time. When I read a script or something, it comes back to the performative element, really. I get so into the world of the characters and I put myself in their place. It was as if I was going to perform the script.
I'm just thinking, so in the beginning for me, like I found just stepping into London and to do bigger shows with more people was scary. I'm not a naturally confident person. Like I can teach and I can get up in front of groups of people and stuff and I can do things, but it's come through like a struggle from years and years and years. Now, I know people that I would say are probably like born confident or naturally confident, but I think confidence is a skill that we learn. I don't think anyone is born confident.
Absolutely.
So I'm really intrigued just because if I had to do your job, I think walking into the theatre, knowing the reputation of the venue that I'm at, the reputation of the show I'm at. You look at something like The Lion King. I mean, that is like one of the most celebrated shows we've got on in the UK at the minute. Is a very, very impressive bit of theatre. So yeah, like how do you sort of step out of your comfort zone and do that sort of work?
I think it's just embracing that feeling of, okay, you're like completely terrified. But that moment where you're terrified because it's taken you back to that childhood excitement of, I'm so overjoyed to be here. It's not really fear. It's just uncontrollable excitement of, wow, I'm here. I'm at this. I'm like, every time I kind of progress an extra level, I just think about like 11-year-old me, imagining what I'm doing now and absolutely just crapping myself with excitement and just like disbelief that, okay, I've got that. Even if it's small things, even if it's just like my idol from when I was this age, I'm now working on a show with, and I go for pints with them.
Yeah.
It's like things like that are just like pinch yourself a little bit. Like you said, I don't think anybody's born confident. I definitely wasn't. And like for so long in drama or in DT, in those specific places, I'd be confident because they made me feel good. Everywhere else, I felt I didn't fit in.
So do you think then when you're doing something you enjoy, when you're being creative, that feeds into the confidence for you?
Absolutely. If I am enjoying it, if I have passion for it, yeah. If I don't, I'm the complete opposite, like the complete opposite, which is why I have to be so careful when I take jobs. I have to be completely sure that this is something I am passionate about. It's going to give me that. It's almost like a feeling of euphoria when you're creating something like that and you see everything coming together. But I have to be sure of that, because otherwise I will just be the complete opposite and I will revert back into my shell entirely.
Interesting.
Entirely. I don't think the confidence thing comes from knowing that, oh yeah, I can build that. Because if you're designing it, your brain's coming up with it for a reason. You can do it. There is a way. It's not completely impossible. And if there's not a direct way, you just work around it. I don't think that's a thing that causes a lack of confidence. I think it's just, for me, it's when I don't enjoy something or I don't fit in. And it's so much to do about the people you surround yourself with. Like, I've definitely had times where I've been working with people that just don't fill me with confidence. And then it's now like the further you get, you've built up contacts, you've got that network, you can then design essentially your own group of people, which is like, if you think about like the leading creators of the West End and stuff at the moment, like Bunny Christie, Paulie Constable, Marianne Elliott, they've been working together for like decades, maybe, like for ages. And they've all obviously found each other along the way and been, right, okay, you fill me with confidence. Together we can, develop this. It's just the same as any other relationship in your life, like friends, lovers, family, like creative relationships and work relationships are just as important of being able to make each other grow. Like if the director says, oh, we're hiring or whatever, I'll be like, okay, well, I know this person, please. Like I can guarantee that we will be a good duo or whatever.
Fit. Yeah.
Yeah. And then just keep building that. And then eventually, like now it's like all of those people I individually invite to jobs, or vice versa. If I get taken on board by someone who's like, oh, I know Amy, she can do this. I work really well with her. Now all of those people seem to be coming together like almost entirely on like a 360 kind of
it comes
thing.
Back on themselves and the same people keep popping up.
But I think it's that thing of like just accepting that you will have sleepless nights, you will have all of those things, but they're not in negative ways at all. Again, it's adrenaline.
And what kind of advice would you give to people so that they can attract more of these people and jobs that are going to fill them with that confidence?
I'm selective with the jobs I choose now because I wasn't once upon a time, and I was eager and I said yes to everything, and I experienced what I did not want to experience again. I remember my design idol, Bunny Christie, who I was lucky enough to assist back in uni for a little bit. She said to me, just say yes to everything. This stage, just keep going, say yes to everything, have those experiences, and just get everything you can in your portfolio, in your brain, like whether it's positive, negative, good, bad, whether you do an awful job of it, do it. And I was like, okay, well, you are world famous, world class, multi-award winning, brilliant. So yeah, I'll follow that advice. And then I did. And then I was able to pinpoint, okay, well, I didn't like that. That was not fun. That was awful. I was awful at that. Okay, I need to then work on that skill a bit more. If I wasn't good enough at it, or if it made me feel too uncomfortable, I need to do something about that.
Do you think it was valuable, though, to have that as a compass? Like even the negative experiences, just so you know, okay, this isn't for me.
Absolutely.
And do you think that that's something that creatives need to go through?
Absolutely. You will fail. You absolutely will. But it's not failing at all. You'll see it as failing, but you're not, because 5 years down the line, you're going to be doing something else and go, okay, this is a familiar situation. This has happened before. I'm not going to do it this way again. Just making mistakes in life in general. Everybody screws up. Everybody screws up. I've had some really amazing screw-ups in my job. Like I've been awful at times, but I'm glad I have been, because I'm better for it afterwards. And And art it's also subjective. There's no right or wrong answer. Like sometimes people just aren't going to like your work.
Mm-hmm.
And not sometimes, all the time.
Yeah.
Like when you design a show, like you don't get to ask every single audience member, oh, did you like it? What did you think? No, like some of them are probably thinking, oh my God, what the hell is that? Or like they don't understand it. Other people are going to be thinking, yeah, that's great. You've just got to accept it is subjective. And sometimes you're not even going to like your own work. A lot of the time, I don't like my own work, but it's what's come out of the script. It's what's needed to happen.
Right.
It's not particularly my taste, but it is perfect for the production. But it's just accepting things that feel like failures like that. But once you've gone through them, you can identify that, okay, that's not for me. Now I know what I want.
Yeah.
I know what I want in a
Which
job.
is literally the most valuable thing. I mean, if people are lost, like they just need to do a bit more and just need to have some more experiences.
It's like, just don't let it scare you off, because I'm so tightly entwined with my work.
Yeah.
And it means so much to me, and I am so passionate about it, and I have so much emotion tied into it. I can be very harsh on myself, like very, very harsh on myself with it. And it's...
So talk to me a little bit about those moments that you are harsh on yourself. I'm really interested in the sort of soft skills, thinking about the concept of sort of like resilience, you know, picking yourself back up, doing the next job after you've failed or something's got hard. Talk me through one of those experiences where maybe something hasn't quite gone right, and have you turned that around? Have you come out the other end?
It is hard. I mean, I don't know if I should name specific things that have gone wrong or whatever.
Well, it's up to you.
It's like, for example, I was designing 3 or 4 shows at one time, and they were all pretty demanding of me. And in terms of time, I had none. I literally drove myself to the point of just literally burnout. And that's my biggest weakness. Like in interviews, when people ask me what my biggest weakness is, it's just overcommitment. And I will go above and beyond, and I will take myself to burnout point. And my problem has been not knowing how to recover from that.
Do you think you spot the signs? Because I mean, I've had something recently, even in lockdown, where I've been spinning a few plates, and I think because of the whole mentality of lockdown, I think you don't realise how hard you are working on, or definitely I didn't realise how much I was pushing certain things. And, you know, it pushed me to the edge a little bit. So do you think you're good at spotting the signs?
I think now I am. Sometimes it's a thing of kicking myself because I spot them and I just continue anyway, and I don't do anything about it.
Right.
But it's like, it's just things like, significant things for me have been, okay, I've committed to these 3 scripts. I'm already stressed out enough, but then I'll get an email saying, oh, hi, we've seen your work, blah, 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 blah. This is the production and stuff. We want you to come on board as the costume set, whatever. And then you think, oh my God, amazing, amazing. You get that adrenaline rush of new job, you know, it's going to be exciting, and it's like immediate, and it's like you've already got 3 projects, and then they offer you a massive paycheck, and then you have to just take everything within you to just say, no, I can't do it. Not that you can't do it. I'm sure I would be perfectly capable of it, but I'd probably be very unwell at the other end of it, mentally and physically.
Do you have any strategies for maintaining that self-care and any like routines and things that you put in place? Are you good with that?
I do now. Actually, it's one thing I've got to thank COVID for, is forcing me to just stop. Although actually before COVID, like maybe after I finished those specific 3 projects, I kind of went, whoa, like I need to break. I just need to sleep. I just need to rethink my diet. I need to, because you end up doing ridiculous things like just like you just forget about, oh, nutrients, my body needs that. You just forget about the basics of just living as a human. You forget about, oh, okay, I should probably exercise. Like I should probably, you know, just take some time just for myself, actually not do work for once. But COVID, as horrendous as it's been, and it's made so many people unemployed, myself included right now, it's just forced me to just stop and take a look at like, whoa, how was I doing that? It was just some sort of superhuman functioning, hyper function level that was just not healthy at all. But I think I'd realised that after those productions I did, and I started getting into a bit of a routine of, right, okay, I'll do a few weeks at the Lion King, make my rent money, and then I'll go into a design job. If it's relatively big, I will just do that one, and I will treat myself well, and I will be able to do my job better because I'm healthier, I'm not as tired. I will be just nicer for people in general to be around, you know?
Yeah.
And I won't look like crap. I'll just feel better in general. It'll be great.
If you've got to give some advice to a new starter in the industry that has come in and has realised that it's not a 9 to 5, the hours are very long, and it's complicated work that often requires pre-production outside of your specific working hours and stuff. Have you got any advice for how they can sort of manage self-care and keep a life within an industry that is, you know, quite demanding at the best of times?
It depends on what road you're taking. I know that for me, it's important to separate your work from your home. Even just moving into a new house and having a separate room with your work in it that you can just shut the door on and go into another room and do something else, like just have some good food. That's one thing, it's just good food, making sure you're just nourished and making sure you are taking care of your body from the inside and you have energy, natural energy, not bad, like false caffeine and sugar and things, which I mean, we're all guilty of. But another thing is, depending on which path you want to go down, really strongly consider university and whether it's going to be beneficial or not. Because I went to uni thinking I need this, and to be honest, I wish I hadn't. I was working full time while I was at uni. I was learning so much more out there in the world, working and doing stuff and just being hands-on. Uni was restricting me completely, and I am now 50 grand in debt and didn't really gain anything from it. I definitely strongly consider what type of path you take and whether you really, really need to, or whether you are able to, you know, gain experience in other ways of just...
I think this is the thing, because it depends what sort of person you are and how much guidance you feel you need, because I know, and I suppose to myself really, sometimes I fall into this camp that sometimes I want a little bit of extra guidance. I don't feel for me university really did that in the way that I was expecting it to. And they always say that, oh, well, it's really good for the contacts and stuff. But I don't know. I mean, I think in my opinion as well, and this isn't advice for people, but I didn't really feel it was worthwhile for me. Definitely, had I not gone, I wouldn't be exactly where I am now because of the people that I've met. And that is my community. I get work and I work with a lot of those individuals now. But I think with a creative subject, especially something like you do, where it is very hands-on, you can learn that experience on the job.
Absolutely.
And is that how you'd say you learned the majority of your skills?
Absolutely.
Like just by doing?
It was just by doing. Because uni was very much... I mean, my uni didn't let us do a public production until third year.
Right.
So we just weren't allowed to actually do the thing we were training.
And assuming from your history being like a really sort of itching to do it creative,
so
you would have done
frustrating.
That like first year.
Yeah, it was so frustrating to not be able to be allowed to make mistakes. It was very, you know...
Well, I'm really fascinated about how people learn, because of course what you're doing, you're working at a very high level. I'm super fascinated about how people figure all this stuff out. I'm also interested to know, is mentorship something that you think would be valuable for aspiring creatives? And have you ever been mentored yourself?
Not kind of explicitly mentored to say, but I've definitely had people who have been miles ahead of me in the career I want to be in, who have helped me and guided me where they can and given me bits of advice or little bits of experience, or just like letting me... Just another thing to do is just, even if you don't have the experience to be able to do a work placement, just asking to shadow people and things like that, to just kind of take in the environment and be used to the environment and be comfortable in the environment, because it is just another stage.
Probably helps
in your
with
life.
a bit of the fear as well.
Exactly.
You know?
And if you're familiar with it, like before I'd even worked in big venues, I'd been... you know, shadowing people or just been in them and assisting people or whatever before I'd got to the stage of, oh, now I'm in charge kind of thing. Like I'd always kind of familiarised myself with the environments.
In terms of learning, so, you know, take me back to you're building things at your granddad's place. You're going to B&Q and getting some odds and bits. And obviously you've got that vision at that age, but that's not doing West End theatre shows. So fill the space in between. Like, how do you get to that level? Where do you get the skills to do that? If it's not a university, where is it?
In the theatre. Or even just, in...
And was that risky to do it that way for you? Or did it feel the right thing to do?
I think for me it felt natural to do because I always felt drawn to those places. To be honest, with any path you choose to take, a creative career is always going to be risky. But that's what makes it so enjoyable and so fulfilling. In terms of filling in the gaps in between, it's your personal development as much as it is developing your work. But just briefly going back to the mentorship thing, like my teachers in school would just always go above and beyond to help me because they knew I was passionate about something and I wanted to progress in it. And they were very much people I looked up to. Another one of my teachers actually did set design as a degree. Just having her there, going to places like Mousetrap, and then there being like older people there, like who were in uni already, and like that kind of thing, and just drifting around with them. And like,
so it sounds like these were just inspiration points. You'd seen it's possible. These people have shown you, okay, here's a gateway. This is what it looks like. Have you considered doing this? And that's really what sort of got you into the industry, got you on the right path. Yeah.
I think so. It was just the being inspired by people. I idolize like the West End performers and things. Instead of like Beyonce, I'd be like, oh no, like Kerry Ellis is where it's at. Like and like listening to like all this crazy music that no one in Croydon would be like, everyone would be like, what's that? But like just to be deeply inspired by someone else, like, wow, I really respect you. Look at where you've come from, where you are. Just finding out about other people and like you said, seeing that it is possible.
Yeah.
So if you have to think about some of the key points that have led to your success, what do you think they might be?
I mean, first of all, I wouldn't even say if I have success. I wouldn't say I feel success. I wouldn't say that ultimately there is a success, because that hints at a completion. And I don't think that's something that you should be looking for or aiming for or owning, because then it feels like you've completed something, and I don't think that's what you should be doing. You should just be on a constant journey. There is no ultimate level to be at. It's just taking it in your stride. But it's also similar to like a piece of art or a design you're creating. You know you can always do better. You know you can always add to it. You know you're never going to be completely 100% confident and comfortable. And, everyone else in your team might not be completely 100% confident and happy with everything. It's not going to be perfect, but it's knowing when to stop as well, when to develop and when to complete.
Cool. So, Amy, we'll go into a bit of a quick fire round now. So, what's the most valuable thing that you've learned so far?
Most valuable thing that I've learned so far is just to keep that childlike excitement and to keep hold of it and to treasure it. It's something that ultimately fuels your fire. It's where you came from. It's the reason you're here. Even when you're 70 and you're working, like, I don't know, I've designed an entire opera for the Royal Opera House, I'm still going to be pissing my pants with excitement that, oh my God, like secretly you're like, everyone thinks you're totally cool and totally collected, but secretly deep down you are literally just like, oh my God, what is happening? Just like completely fangirling. Like, I think that's probably the most, like, I've just learned to just hold on to that, because that's what gets you through even the bad moments. Is just then I'm really, really depressed doing this job. I'm not enjoying it. I'm going to put on the Wicked soundtrack. And that will take me straight back to that moment where I fell in love with this and remind me of why I'm doing it and help me power through it. Like even just little things like that. So yeah. Sorry,
amazing.
That wasn't exactly quick fire, but...
No, solid. Well, Amy, I've got to be respectful of your time, but thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And for anyone that's interested, where can people find you online?
You can have a look at my website, which is amyrosemitchell.co.uk, or you can go to my Instagram, which is Amy Rose Theatre Design.
And what sort of work are you doing if people want to reach out? I
design and make sets and costumes for theatre, and also film and sometimes I do some production design work too. I also work in technical theatre, so I do lots of backstage roles, and I combine the two. But yeah,
amazing. Well, Amy, thank you so much for your time. It's been such a pleasure to chat to you.
Thank you.
Hey there, guys. I think it's really important to mention that theatre is one of those industries that will really need our support when we come out of lockdown, and it's safe to do those things again. I hope everyone's doing well wherever you are, and I welcome you to continue the conversation on social. We're on Instagram and Facebook at The Creative Venture. And I've got a lot of people that are reaching out with DMs. So if you're one of those people, thank you so much. Do keep them coming. And if you've got any suggestions for upcoming episodes or just want to say hi, that would be awesome. Yeah, until the next time, guys. See ya.